When did someone bully the wrong person? There was this girl in my 7th grade named Quinn who barely spoke to anyone. She wore the same faded gray hoodie almost every day and always sat alone at lunch, usually reading some thick book while eating a packed sandwich. Most kids ignored her, but some of the popular kids started calling her janitor's kid behind her back because her dad cleaned our school every evening. The worst part was watching kids deliberately drop trash near Quinn, just to see if her dad would have to clean it up later. They thought it was hilarious. Quinn never reacted. She'd just keep reading her book like nothing happened. Then this kid, Jake, decided to take it further. During lunch on a Tuesday, he walked over to Quinn's table carrying his tray of leftover sloppy joe and chocolate milk. Without warning, he dumped the whole mess right on her hoodie and backpack. The cafeteria erupted in laughter. Everyone was pulling out their phones to record. I expected Quinn to cry or run to the bathroom. Instead, she calmly wiped the sauce off her book, packed her soggy sandwich back in its bag, and walked out. She didn't say a single word. Jake was practically glowing from all the attention he got. The next morning, our principal's voice came over the intercom during first period. "Jake Morrison, please report to the main office immediately." Jake strutted out like he was getting some award. Half the class was whispering about whether he was finally getting in trouble for the lunch incident. But when Jake didn't come back after an hour, people started getting nervous. Then during third period, 2 police officers walked into our classroom. They asked our teacher if they could speak with Caleb Torres and Ryan Webb. Both kids went pale and followed the officers out. By lunch, rumors were flying everywhere. Someone said Jake got arrested. Another kid claimed the police found drugs in his locker. But the real story came out when our computer teacher, Mr. Park, explained everything to us during last period. Apparently, Quinn had gone home Tuesday night and shown her dad screenshots of threatening messages that had been sent to her school email account. The messages were disgusting. Threats about what kids were going to do to her, calling her horrible names, even threats about her family. The school's IT department traced the messages back to Jake's school account. But here's where it gets crazy. Quinn's dad didn't just forward the emails to the principal. He used to work in cybersecurity before he became our janitor when his tech company went under 3 years ago. He knew exactly how to dig deeper into the digital trail. What he found was that Jake hadn't sent those messages. His friends, Caleb and Ryan, had used Jake's login during computer class when he went to the bathroom. They planned the whole thing. The lunch humiliation was just the beginning. They had created fake social media accounts, stolen photos of Quinn from the school yearbook committee database, and were planning to post them with nasty captions. Quinn's dad found everything. Chat logs where they bragged about their plan, screenshots they'd taken of Quinn eating alone, even a group chat with 8 other kids where they were rating different ways to mess with her. All 3 boys got suspended for 2 weeks. The school board got involved because of the cyberbullying aspect. Jake's parents had to hire a lawyer. Caleb and Ryan's families were required to attend counseling sessions about digital citizenship. After that day, Quinn didn't talk about what happened. Not to the teachers, not to anyone, but something shifted. She still came to school in that same hoodie, still sat alone, but now, every time she opened her book at lunch, you could feel the room watching her, like people were waiting to see if she'd do something. Anything, but she didn't. She just kept reading. Jake stopped showing up to lunch for a few days. When he finally came back, he looked different, like the weight of what happened had finally hit him. His usual loud jokes were gone. No one sat with him anymore. Even the people who laughed with him before were keeping their distance. The whispers didn't stop though. In fact, they got louder. Everyone wanted to know what Quinn's dad had really found. People started saying he had exposed not just the emails, but even more stuff, like other chats between kids who had joined in without even knowing how serious it was. A few students deleted their social media accounts entirely, others just tried to pretend like they had never laughed that day in the cafeteria. Mr. Park told us later that the investigation was still ongoing. The district had brought in outside IT experts to make sure this kind of thing couldn't happen again. A digital trail had been created, one that couldn't be ignored. And the craziest part? Quinn never once said "I told you so," never. Lashed out, never even gave anyone the satisfaction of a glare. She just kept her head down. Like she'd already moved on, but the rest of us hadn't. One day, a girl from yearbook, Amanda, quietly sat down next to Quinn at lunch. She didn't say anything at first, just opened her own lunch and started eating beside her. That's how it started. Within a week, 2 more kids joined. Not in a big, dramatic way, just quiet company. Small talk, respect, like they were trying to fix something, not because Quinn needed fixing, but because they did. It wasn't about pity. It was about accountability. The school introduced a new digital safety week after that, with Quinn's story, her permission granted, used as a case study. They didn't name names, but everyone knew. The story spread to other schools. Some local papers picked it up. A few months later, Quinn's dad was offered a part-time consulting job in cybersecurity again from someone who'd read the case report. He didn't leave janitorial work entirely, but it was a start. And as for Quinn, she still wore that gray hoodie, only now people saw it differently. Not as something to mock, but as a symbol of how someone can be completely underestimated until the day they're not. Story: when I asked my sister to watch my son for 2 hours, she sent me an invoice for $1,000. "I am not your nanny or your maid," she wrote. I replied, "Understood." Then I drafted an expense summary, back rent, groceries, utilities, even toilet paper, and attached a bill for $16,000, effective immediately. She called me. "Wait, you're serious?" I replied, "You made it formal." She called. My parents upset at the urgent family talk. I just handed them the folder. Then I had started with a post-it note and ended with an invoice for $1,000. The post-it was neon pink, stuck to the fridge like a tiny neon siren on it. "Don't forget Liam at to back by for snacks," labeled. That's all. Just 2 hours, too. My sister Ivy had nodded through the whole conversation. Of course, she said he's my nephew. She even smiled like someone auditioning for most reasonable relative. That was Saturday. By Monday, she had emailed me an itemized invoice with the subject line for services rendered. No emojis, no context, just PDF attached like it was a casual lawsuit. Inside, a 2-page bill. Her rate was $500 an hour. Babysitting, specialized emotional labor, food provisioning, organic only. Environmental disruption fee. She claimed Liam spilled juice on her artisan poof. Total $1,000. She added a note at the bottom: "I am not your nanny or your maid." I stared at it for a full minute, then typed back exactly 2 words: "Understood." Then I stood up, walked to my desk, and pulled open the drawer where I kept every receipt, bank transfer confirmation, and passive-aggressive note labeled "favor." I didn't speak, I didn't huff, I just drafted an expense summary. Back rent, $9,600, utilities, electric, gas, water, and the month she kept the AC at 68 like she was storing meat. $2,100, groceries, $2,800, toilet paper. Yes, I itemized that. $375, Wi-Fi, $600, miscellaneous, which included a streaming service she swore she needed for work. $525, total $16,000, due immediately, subject line: "You made it formal." I attached the PDF, hit send, and went to microwave leftover chili like nothing had happened. 3 hours later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I picked up. "Ivy, you're serious?" She whispered. "Yes," I said, "just like your invoice." "Serious." She hung up. Then she called our parents. By the next evening, I was summoned to an urgent family conversation, which was code for "you're about to be scolded by people who think love means never asking for rent." When I walked into the living room, They were already seated like a committee. My mom, dad, and Ivy, arms crossed, a fourth chair waited, dramatically empty, facing them like I was about to be interviewed for parole. I didn't sit, I handed them the folder. Inside the printed invoice, a breakdown by category, and a post-it of my own, per your logic, payment due on receipt. Hope this helps clarify expectations. No one spoke for a full 45 seconds. My mom blinked, my dad sighed. Ivy looked like she'd swallowed a lemon whole. That silence, that was the best part. Ivy moved in 3 years ago. Her apartment got moldy, which somehow translated into me offering the spare room. She cried during the tour, not because she was touched, but because my Wi-Fi speed made her laptop load The Real Housewives in 4K. She called me her savior for about 3 hours. Then the requests began. The first was the groceries. Can I VMO you later? The later came, then rent, just until I finished that remote UX bootcamp. The bootcamp lasted 6 weeks. She's still not working in UX. I covered everything quietly, no drama, just added her to my household budget like an overgrown dependent. Rent $800 per month, utilities $175, groceries $300 until she went vegan for skin reasons. Then it jumped to $600 because oat milk and imported seaweed apparently prevent breakouts. Netflix. She upgraded my plan to premium family without asking. Claimed she needed her own profile because mine had chaotic taste. For 28 months, I said nothing, just adjusted. When she needed a laptop for classes, I handed over my old MacBook. When her car broke down, I offered mine twice a week. When she needed dental work and her insurance got weird, I paid out of pocket $1,300 for emergency veneers. She smiled a lot that month, probably because someone else paid for it. One day, I asked if she could maybe pitch in $50 for internet. She blinked like I'd suggested we harvest organs. I thought we weren't doing this whole tit-for-tat thing, she said. I nodded. I didn't mention that tit-for-tat was mostly tit and I was the tat. Our parents didn't help. They visited once every 2 months, smiled at the hand towels, complimented the lighting, then made jokes like, "Lucky Ivy, living rent-free and still managing self-care." Then they asked if I could help cover their phone bill. Family plan. It was always a plan. I paid because it was easier than arguing. I told myself it was temporary, but like mold, Ivy spread. One day, I opened the fridge and found a post-it that said, "Please don't touch the beet hummus." It's part of my gut reset. It was my fridge. That's when I started saving receipts. I had this tiny folder called documentation buried in my email. It held everything from Amazon orders her yoga mat, to Uber Eats charges vegan sushi $36, to a Venmo request labeled LOL. Can you spot me for the lash refill? I never replied. I just paid. There was a moment, just one, where I thought maybe it was worth it. Ivy got a part-time job at a boutique. She came home excited, showed me a client review, even paid half the water bill. 2 weeks later, she quit. Said the owner was energetically toxic. That was month 19. By month 22, she redecorated her room. My room with floating shelves and a eucalyptus diffuser she borrowed from a friend's wedding. She kept calling in her space. I kept paying the mortgage. By month 24, she started introducing herself to guests as co-owner. That's when I knew it wasn't just money anymore. It was identity theft, but make it spiritual. Then came the $1,000 invoice and suddenly my silence got expensive. I stopped expecting change after the 3rd week. The car, sorry, Lexi, had become community property, groceries, still my card, internet, my name, my bill, the house, split in theory, funded in practice by me. And after that $1,000 invoice for 2 hours of emotional babysitting, something cracked. I stopped being quiet. She had a plan. For the first time in a long time, I want to be independent, Ivy said. No more asking, just earning, like an adult. Mom looked at me like I was supposed to break into applause. They waited for a reaction. I nodded. Okay, then came the catch. She needed a car. Not just any car, something reliable, comfortable, something that builds trust. She was going to drive professionally, not Uber, she clarified. That was too basic. She wanted to offer premium client experience. Aromatherapy in the back seat, lofi music, maybe some intentional energy, sort of like Lyft, she said, but with soul. 3 days later, we were standing at a dealership. I paid for a 2012 Toyota Corolla, $6,400 cash. Told myself it was the last time. She sat behind the wheel like it was a throne. Can I name her? She asked. She's yours, I said. She named it Lexi. I smiled, already knowing Lexi would never see a paying passenger. First month, she drove to 3 places. Mom to Trader Joe's, Dad to the kind of barbershop that served mint tea and gave him the illusion of hair herself, to Zara meeting clients. She said possibly, but the receipt said mid-season sale. I didn't say a word, I just noted it down. Corolla, $6,400, Roi, 0 passengers, 3 errands for shopping bags. She mentioned marketing, created an Instagram, a drive with a V, 1 follower, me. A week later, it was abandoned. Meanwhile, groceries kept showing up magically. The receipt was mine. She'd chip in $30 and call it splitting. I spent $400 a month on food she couldn't eat because it wasn't vegan, gluten, organic enough. Utilities, I paid them because we both use Wi-Fi streaming. I noticed her profile on every platform. Hulu, Netflix, HBO Online, watching documentaries about self-worth and healing. Ironic, 1 month she upgraded my Spotify to a family plan. Added herself, said, it just made sense. Everything always made sense to her. Mom helped the narrative. Anytime I hinted that maybe Ivy could pitch in, Mom waved it off. She's trying, she's figuring herself out. You live together anyway. What's the difference? The difference was $1,200 a month, quietly leaking from my account. So I opened a spreadsheet, support disguised as family, rent 20 for months, groceries, car, utilities, emotional labor, noted but not priced yet. Total $16,870. I didn't confront her. I didn't yell. I just started printing. The invitation came wrapped in fake normally. Game night at our place. Ivy texted, just us. Snacks, chill vibes, like old times. I read it twice. It sounded like bait dipped in nostalgia. I went anyway. They were all there. Ivy had candles burning like a seance. Mom poured tea with her domestic Grace voice. Dad sat with arms folded like a disappointed life coach. Even our cousin Jake was there, the human fog machine of bad takes and vague affirmations. Something was up. Ivy gestured to the couch. Let's talk before we play. Real talk, that's when I knew. Mom started. There's been tension, misunderstandings, but we're family. Dad followed. We want to move past this phase. Jake nodded uselessly. I let them talk. 5 minutes of curated concern framed like I'd overreacted to being billed for trusting my own sister. Ivy said I was just setting boundaries. I reached into my code and placed a folder on the coffee table. Label Family Subsidy Ledger 2021-2. 20 to 3. It was heavier than it looked. I opened it. First page, a pie chart. Legend, rent, groceries, utilities, vehicle labeled Lexi, non-operational taxi, passive income. Read Netflix profile freeloading. Second page, calendar breakdown. Month by month, every cost I covered. Highlighted her name in yellow, bright like warning tape. Ivy blinked. Is this a joke? I turned the page. Printed screenshot of her $1,000 invoice underneath my reply. Understood. And below that, $16,870 in unreciprocated support. I figured if we're formal now, I said, we should all have the numbers. Mom gasped like someone had just insulted a casserole. That's your sister. You don't put price tags on love. I didn't look at her. I looked at Ivy. You did. You charged me For babysitting, so I matched the energy. She tried to laugh, it cracked midway. Okay, this is crazy. Dad leaned in, son, you're being extreme. No, I said I was extreme when I bought her a car so she could pretend to have a job. Jake finally said something. I mean, it's a lot of Excel, bro. I didn't blink. I like evidence. Next page. Bank statements, transfers, grocery app orders, even the IKEA receipt for the couch she spilled out milk on and called a Vive casualty. Final page. Printed email to 4, subject effective immediately. Rental agreement inside starting. Next month. Rent $1,200. Utility split, grocery purchases separate. Emotional labor no longer complimentary. Mom stood up. You're going to charge her to live with you? She's lived off me for 2 years. I said this is a discount. Ivy's voice finally broke. You're acting like I'm a stranger. No, I'm treating you the way you taught me to formally. They stared. The silence wasn't shocked. It was stunned. Like the moment before a crash when no one moves. I stood up, left the folder on the table. Game night's over. I walked out. No one followed. The morning after game night, I made a list. Not of people, of objects, the ones I paid for. The ones she borrowed and never returned, the ones she repurposed and called ours. I started in the kitchen. I always do when I'm done pretending. The blender, mine. The air fryer, mine. The espresso machine she co-curated for our lifestyle, mine. Even the bamboo spice rack, bought during a Black Friday impulse, still mine. I boxed them silently, one drawer at a time. Ivy came in mid-ick wearing a robe and last night's mascara. What are you doing? She said as if I was robbing a stranger. I didn't answer. Just unplugged the router, labeled the box. Tech and tools not shared. You're being insane. I paused. No, I'm being accurate. She scoffed, opened the fridge, realized the oat milk was gone. Taken. Wow, milk to. It's $649 a carton. You drank 3 a week. That's $112 over 12 months. You counted. I didn't respond. I just tapped the folder still on the kitchen table. The one from last night. Page 6, line 18. Alternative dairy expenditures. She stared, not even angry, just stunned. You're petty, she finally said. No, I said. I'm itemized. By noon, I'd cleared my things. Streaming services unlin. Shared Amazon Prime cancelled. Spotify family back to individual plan. Even the scented candles she loved, the ones I bought in bulk, gone. I left the couch. She once said it held her through a breakup. Let it hold the silence now. I dropped a printed note by the sink. Inventory reclaimed. Rent enforcement effective. This is not retaliation, it's clarification. Welcome to shared adulthood. Bring your own blender. I walked out carrying one last plant. Carl, a leafy snake plant she never watered but posted selfies with. He deserved better. At 10:17 p.m., my phone buzzed. Mom, you embarrassed her. That's not love. Dad, we raised you better. Ivy, you've always been jealous of me. I replied to none. 3 dots appeared, then vanished. I sat back, sipped coffee brewed from my own machine, and let it settle in. This wasn't revenge, this was a receipt finally being handed back. She didn't reply for 6 days. That was Ivy's version of remorse. Silence marketed as processing, no apology, no questions, just a digital void, like I was expected to fill the silence with forgiveness on her behalf. On the 7th day, she texted, fine, I'll come. Don't make it weird. No, hello, no, thank you. Just a command disguised as a concession, I replied, same cafe. Thursday 4 p.m. she sent a thumbs up. No words. When she arrived, she was dressed like an apology in progress. Gray oversized hoodie, black leggings, sneakers, the kind with slightly undone laces for maximum humility, no makeup, but lip balm. A signal she wasn't falling apart, just being real. She took the seat across from me. Not the one next to me. Good. I wasn't in the mood for nostalgia-based proximity. Hey, she said like we were roommates coordinating rent, not siblings navigating years of lopsided economics. I nodded, that was all she was getting. We ordered. She chose chai. I asked for coffee, black. There was ambient noise, dishes clinking, someone over-frothing milk, a couple laughing over a shared croissant. I envied them, not because they were happy, but because they were basic. I hadn't been basic with Ivy since 2017. After 4 minutes of casual nothing, she leaned in. So what now? I didn't answer, just pulled a folder from my bag and set it between us. Label offset agreement. Small font, clean edges, nothing dramatic. She stared at it like it might bite. You're joking. I said nothing. She opened it. Page 1, summary of damages. Rent subsidy 16 months x $600. Groceries monthly overages itemized. Yes, including oat milk. Vehicle usage, gas maintenance. Insurance portion, subscriptions, streaming apps, Spotify, family, miscellaneous, household items, borrowing, I use never repaid. Total $8,400. Each category had dates, not guesses, statements, screenshots, receipts. She couldn't argue with pixels. Her expression changed around line 27. Bluetooth speaker purchased July 14, 2022. Claimed as our sound, but used exclusively by Ivy for balcony wine nights. She flipped the page. Page 2. Proposal for repayment. 2 options. A direct repayment. Monthly installments over 6 months. 0% interest. Out of mercy, not generosity. First payment due in 10 days. The employment-based offset. Job offer at local career office. $17 per hour. Part-time weekday shifts. Admin assistant. No driving involved. Attached. Job description. Contact name. Map to the office. Start date. Next. Monday. I spoke to them. I said, they're holding the spot till Friday. Ivy blinked long and slow like she was waiting for this scene to shift genres. This is real. Very. You actually want me to work off this? She tapped the total like it personally offended her. No, I said, I want you to stop pretending adulthood is something you can borrow. She looked away, then back. I didn't ask you to do all that. You never had to. You just knew I would. She didn't argue, which meant I'd hit something accurate. You took everything, she said. The Wi-Fi, the blender. Carl is a plant. He made the room feel alive. He almost died from neglect. She looked down, smiled for half a second. Okay? That's fair. Then she hardened again. You're being cold. I'm being clean. She leaned back. What if I say no? I reached into my bag, took out a second envelope. This goes to my lawyer. I've already spoken to one. Are you threatening me? I'm giving you structure. You said you wanted to fix things. I'm showing you how. You're not a judge. I'm not. But I'm tired of playing donor. She didn't speak, just breathed through her nose, then bit the inside of her cheek like the words were sour. She skimmed the contract again. Her fingers trembled slightly on the paper, either from fear or caffeine. Maybe both. This job, it's not a punishment. No, it's the first brick of your own foundation. She sighed, and if I take it, then we're even. No more spreadsheets, no more footnotes, just space. And if I don't, then I pursue reimbursement formally. It's not personal anymore, just numbers. She folded the folder slowly, carefully, like it might reset the situation if closed gently enough. I'll think about it. You have 6 days. She looked at me, really looked. For the first time in years, I think you've changed. No, I said I just stopped paying for who I used to be. We sat for another minute, not talking, not pretending. Then I stood up, nodded once, and left her there with her chai, the folder, and the faintest scent of cinnamon failure. On the 7th day, she didn't call. On the 8th, still nothing. Then on the 9th, at 17 a.m., I got a voice message. Ivy. Whispering like guilt was a roommate asleep in the next room. I read everything. I get it. I'll figure it out, just don't go full legal. Okay, please. I didn't respond. On day 10, she texted again. Can we talk? No punctuation, like it was scared of being ignored. I saw it, didn't reply, she missed the job interview. Didn't email them, didn't even fake an excuse. I waited 2 more days, then forwarded her file to my lawyer. Simple cover note, subject begin claim by weeks, and mom called 3 times. I didn't pick up, then a 4th labeled urgent. The voicemail was peak performance. This family is crumbling. Are you proud? She's struggling. Your sister, you're smarter than this. You're supposed to lead. I played it twice, not for content, just to hear how Simeon could still sound parental while begging from a child they trained to be useful. I didn't respond. Sunday brunch, same cafe, I sat alone. Used to be a table for 4, now just me, black coffee, and Carl the plant. He'd made a comeback unlike the rest of them. A week later, Ivy showed up at my door. No text, no knock, just stood there. She wore that hoodie again, not the humble one, the defensive one. Hi, she said, you're really doing this? I nodded. She looked down. I didn't take it seriously. I didn't think you would either. You taught me formal, I'm just fluent now. She sniffed. You're not even angry, are you? No. That makes it worse. I know. She held out an envelope. I didn't take it. It's not a check, she said. Just a letter. I took it. Closed the door, didn't read it, just set it on the table. Left it there like an old receipt for a refund that would never come. A month passed, lawyer processed everything. Claim filed. Ivy replied through an online form, no contest. She never apologized. Just withdrew like she stepped away. Quietly, mom texted occasionally, we miss you, this isn't forever. Families fight. I muted the thread, the silence was better. It had structure like a blank invoice. Then on a Tuesday afternoon, I sent one final message to the group chat. Just one line. You said you're better off without me. Prove it. Then I left the chat. Blocked numbers, changed passwords, opened a new account for rent, mine alone, Spotify, solitary, Netflix, peaceful groceries. Just what I wanted, no oat milk. I never sought revenge, I sought silence. I didn't want them to suffer. I wanted them to carry their own bags for once. Emotionally, financially, literally, even the Trader Joe's once. And the final twist, they thought I was their safety net with feelings. Now they just have to stand on their own, and I'm fine.